Hello and welcome everybody to the Man of Steel fan event. I'm the guy that got thrown off the plane years ago, so I'm non-flying Kev Smith. How are you, man? We're gonna jump into a big celebration of the fact that Man of Steel coming out on Blu-ray this week, and this Blu-ray is packed, man. It's thick as it gets. Got lots of extras. Its own little mini film school on it. You can like the Man of Steel movie. You watch all the extras. You can learn all the stuff. Go make your own Man of Steel movie, man. But before we get into all that, let me let you know there's something cool that's going to happen toward the end of the show. We got some original artwork that may or may not have something to do with a future version of the Man of Steel franchise, which we'll get into later. Everyone's sitting there going, say it, say Superman versus blah, blah. I'm not going to say it till later. But before we do that, I want to introduce everybody involved, people who are taking off time on their Saturday, man, to do this live and whatnot. But before we do that, quick story just to show you some of the strings of what's going on here. This is a live event, so of course, my apologies if anything goes wrong, but I just got here. This is just to give you context for how much of a fan I am. This is a fan event, so we got to explain it. I was making, like, 12 hours ago, not even 10 hours ago, I was on a set directing the first movie I've made in 3 years, this movie called Tusk. Haven't done it in a while, went to that set. I got a call 2 weeks before we started shooting. They said, hey, man, they're going to do this fan event with Zack. I love Zack Snyder, so I was like, when is it? And they said Saturday, and I looked at the date. I said, oh, that's the end of my first week of shooting. I said, I'm going to be in North Carolina. I can't come back. I came back. I could not resist it. Even though I haven't made a movie in 3 years, I want to come talk about somebody else's movie, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm a director, but the only way you become a better director is by hanging out with better directors, man. So I seized the opportunity, come out here and sit down and talk to a dude I've long admired, man. This is a cat who I first heard about when people were like, you love Dawn of the Dead. They're remaking Dawn of the Dead. I said, what a mistake. What kind of jackass would remake Dawn of the Dead? And I put down my money at the theater so I can tell this jackass what I thought on the internet afterwards, and I fell in love. This guy had I don't know if we can say it's Yahoo. He had the Yahoos, if you will, to take something that everybody knew and find a different angle to it, and it was great. It was so wonderful. So right then, I was like, I'm dialed in on this guy's career. Then, of course, they just kept coming. 300, of course, goes nuts. Everyone sees a movie, sees Frank Miller's beautiful book come to life in the hands of an insanely talented director, and with all the power in the universe at that point, because that movie made a few bucks. He could have done anything. What he chose to do, the undoable. He went after the chalice, man, the lost, the holy grail, if you will. He took The Watchmen and made a beautiful movie of it. Nobody, kids, was ever going to make a movie as close to the Watchmen book as got made by the man who made The Man of Steel. And he is here right now, ladies and gentlemen. Without him, we wouldn't have Superman, the Superman we have him back now, a new version of Superman. It works like crazy, and we're going to meet the guy who played him as well as the lady who plays Lois, I don't want to spoil it, Lois Lane. But before we get there, the guy who I admire so much, visionary director, man, a true artist who takes something you all know, puts his spin on it, makes it his own, goes for broke, man, and gives you something you've never seen before. Zack Snyder, how are you, sir?
I'm awesome. It's great to be here.
Excellent to see you. First time I met you was when you showed the Watchmen trailer at San Diego.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I ran up to you and I hugged you, man. I was just like, oh, you did it. It was so beautiful. I couldn't believe you brought the images to life.
And we did that. Remember we did that panel, and I thought, oh my God, like why did they put me up here with this hilariously smart guy killing me? It was great though.
It was fun, man.
I bowed down.
It was really sweet. It was such a good guy, like a talented dude, but then also a nice guy to hang out with, man. So that's why I came today. But I honestly came because there's somebody else here in the room who I've long fell in love with, man. I love Junebug, like you read about, man. As soon as I saw this movie, I said, this chick's going places. But this is the weird thing, man. Never thought I'd have an opportunity to do this in person. One of my favorite moments in cinema, if not my favorite acting moment in all of movies of 2013. Now, some people are going to beat me up on the internet for this, but follow my logic. There's a moment in Man of Steel where the lady I'm about to introduce gives a look that says so much, 60 years of what the character of Superman means. And I want to talk to her about it, so let me introduce her. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Amy Adams. How are you?
I'm good,
Real
thank
quick
you.
before we introduce the other guy. That moment I first saw in the teaser, it's like that kind of zoom into your face where Superman grabs you right as you're falling from the world engine. The expression that you had of utter fear, relief, and unbelief of like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm about to die. I'm watching this thing. I know I'm plummeting to the earth. I'm going to die. This guy saved me, and I'm watching us speed from death, praying like, go, dude, go. I don't know how you're doing this, but It was fantastic. When I saw that in the trailer right then and there, I was like, they nailed it. You absolutely nailed it.
Thank you. I wish I could take credit, but that's all Zach's doing.
Was it really? It was all.
Honestly, not.
No, it is.
It's the expression. It was all there. It's wordless. Any actor
No.
could take a script and say some stuff, but you did it with just a look, man. Conveyed so much. All right, we'll talk about that later, but you can't make a Superman movie without the Man of Steel himself, man, and we got him. Beamed in live from the Fortress of Solitude, which is actually London, man. Give it up for the man who found the soul of Superman. He is our Superman, and boy, he's hot. Henry Cavill, ladies and gentlemen. He's 3-second delay. Henry, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How you doing?
How are you? Oh my God, this is awesome. I'm geeking out because it's the Man of Steel. Look, I've got the shield. They made a jersey for me and they took one of the Superman shields off one of the costumes, your costume. I said, get one that Henry wore. And they ripped it off and they put it on my jersey. So you and I are bonded by clothes.
Nice, man. I like it.
Thank
He
you.
sweated a lot in that, so
Yeah,
there's probably some DNA.
As you can see, I'm doing the same. Okay.
Yeah, enjoy wearing that.
So we've got a bunch of material that we could get to, man. We asked all you folks out there to send in video questions, to send in Twitter questions under the hashtag AskManOfSteel. This is all about you guys and what you want to know. There's a lot of love for the movie. First question, of course, is going to be for the guy who put it all together, Zack Snyder, man. Let's check this out. Video question for you, Zack.
Hi, I'm Carlos. I'm from Holland. My question for Zack Snyder: where do you get inspiration to make a great movie? Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
So weird, because I asked him the same question when I came today. I was like, how do you get good inspiration to make a great movie? Because I've never found
It
it.
was worded the exact same way.
It was, and as delivered as staccato as well.
Wow,
What is the secret, man? How do you make a movie as cool as Man of Steel?
I mean, inspiration is, the thing that, I guess, the stuff that makes you get up every day, or to, if you're gonna, in the case, the way I make a movie is, there's a lot of drawing involved, and it's kind of a slightly tedious process, but I really like doing it. But you do have to get inspired every day to go and sit there for 8 hours and draw and draw and draw. And I think that, but the material and sort of the icon of Superman, I think anyone would be inspired to kind of dig into. I know you have been.
But I'll only take it as far as comic books, because in comic books you're safe. Like, there's an audience for it, and they're very vocal. But you're not doing it on the grand stage. Like we talked about before we went, you've made a bunch of movies, but when you start telling people in your world, even though you've been making movies for 10, 15 years or whatever, you say to somebody, I'm making Superman, they're like, you've made it, buddy.
No, they know, right? Like I was saying, my dad's friends are like, hey, your kid's making Superman, good job, Before that, they're like, what is this? What's he doing?
So it's not just like, it's tough enough making a movie, which isn't like laying brick or something like that, but it has its own levels of difficulty. But not only are you making a movie, you're making a movie under the watchful eye of all of fandom, of people who are like, don't screw this up, because we love Kal-El, we love Superman. So where do you find that inspiration? Particularly when, like, sometimes you got people weighing in before the movie's even made, telling you how they feel. How do you get up every morning and go, look, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm going to do what I want, because that's what they hired me for?
No, 100%. Look, I'm a fan of the character. So I think once you commit to, when you make a movie, you only have one thing, right? Your point of view. That's the only thing you have. Like, the director has nothing else other than his point of view. In order to get that out, you just have to trust it, and if you don't trust it, then you're in the wrong business, because there's just no way to do it. You can't do it with a committee, because it doesn't work. And so for me, if it's going to be Superman, once you kind of sort of feel that character kind of inside of yourself and sort of feel like how you want to interpret it, that's just going to happen, and you can't second guess that. You can't. Once you've done the work of sort of knowing the mythology, then you got to just let it sort of go through you, and you have to let that be your own aesthetic, be the thing that kind of gives you the pluses and minuses of the different decisions you make, and you got to live with them. And I really feel like the movie we made, it is the movie we wanted to make.
Right.
It's the Superman I wanted to see, and that's the only way I can sort of express it. Anyone who makes a movie, you try and make a movie that you would like, and that's really that's really where it comes from, I guess.
Now, he's what everyone thinks of as the filmmaker, because he's the director, but actors, everybody on the crew is a filmmaker. Everyone makes their own little movie at the same time. And he's trying to make take all those ideas, all those mini movies, and put them into one unified vision. So everybody's in charge of their own kitchen. As an actress, like he talks about the inspiration, where do you find yours, man? Because he's got the freedom of being like, I want Superman to move a mountain, and then people figure out how to do it. But you're locked into what's on the page. Like you could say, hey, can I change this? Can I go there? But you can't be like, I don't want Lois to be a girl. You know, I want to make a big change. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
How do you do it? How do you
now
get
the big secret of the sequel's revealed.
There it is.
No, I'm sorry. No, I mean, with Lois, it's different because she's a character I grew up with, and so I had so much to draw from. The trick with that is not getting overwhelmed by what you've grown up watching and not trying to replicate anything and just surrender to the story that Zack is telling and to take all of the qualities that you love about this character, but really just be present in the moment and be present, you know, with Soups and just really allow yourself to live in the moment. You can't get caught up in Lois, Superman. You really just have to be the person and just like any other role and just live it. But it's a huge responsibility when you're playing a character that is, you know, when you know people have such strong opinions, and you do have to let go and just really just do it.
And it's interesting too because I feel like because by the way, you could trust Lois, you know, as a character. She's not gonna let you down. I mean, we want her that way. So we worked to get her to, you know, solve the problems that needed to be solved and be there when she needed to be there and all that stuff. You know,
That is absolutely what I love, and we'll get into it in a little bit. We're going to talk about that particularly, but just the shift in Lois was like one of the smartest things I thought, because you can't sit there and be like, all right, I'm rooting on the world's greatest reporter. She can't differentiate between a guy in glasses, guy not in glasses. Right up front, you guys deal with like, let's take away this whole, who is he? You know, she doesn't realize who she is. She's supposed to be a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter. So I love that right away. I was like, whew.
well, I mean, the first point is she's like, she found Clark.
Yeah, she's
and then
hunting
found
him.
Superman. Yeah, it's like, it's almost the reverse of the way it's been done in the mythology before, where the first time she meets Clark, he's at the Daily Planet and not in his persona as the alter ego of Superman. Our Clark didn't even know that was a thing to do, to have an alter ego, right? So she's meeting him at the birth of those two sort of things. So that's really fun.
Excellent, man. Let's see, we've got Superman standing by, Man of Steel himself, Henry Cavill. What about you, Henry? What was the inspiration, aside from like, I'm gonna look like no human being on earth, cut from God's own marble? In fact, I look like the opposite of Henry wearing this vest right here. I'm Bizarro Henry Cavill. What was it like to get up every morning and be like, all right, number one, you're British, you're playing an American character as well, and knowing a lot of people going like, hey man, he stands for America. Where'd you find your inspiration?
Well, I mean, pretty much the same thing as Amy said. You've just got to... You read the comic books, you take as much inspiration as you can from there, and then you just live in the skin of the character. And yeah, waking up every morning is pretty exciting when you say, I get to play Superman, I get to be Superman. But that also applies a certain responsibility and a weight to your shoulders, which makes you work harder. But my inspiration was just mostly drawn from the comic books and this sort of grand love across the world for the character.
You crushed it, sir. You brought soul to that character. Naturally, physically, of course, I was going to say you look the part. We've never seen Superman look this good. This is the first time in a Superman movie you were like, dude, take off the shirt. You know, just you don't even need the cape. But not only do you physically personify it, you have the soul, dude, and the kind of temperance. Like, I look at your performance as a guy who's just kind of not looking down on people, but just kind of like, everyone around me is a Fabergé egg. If I do anything, I can harm people. So I'm going to do everything I can to help people. And that played so well in that performance all across the flick.
Thank you so much.
All right, man, so I think we're going to come back to Henry as well in a couple minutes. He's standing by in the Fortress of Solitude, but we got another video question from you, the fans, and this one's for you, Amy. Check this out.
Hello, my name is Daniel and I'm from Norway, and this is for Miss Adams. Miss Adams, what makes someone worthy of being a hero?
That was awkward. There's a question only Amy Adams can answer,
I like
ladies
his
and gentlemen.
t-shirt.
What's it take to make someone a hero? And then we'll think of something more interesting to ask you. Go.
Honestly, for me, in my life, it's humility, kindness, selflessness. True hero, you know. It's as simple as those things for me. Because it's the small acts of kindness and heroism we do every day that I think affect the world more than just one great act of heroism.
Like if you look at, I mean, this is a weird movie to pull here, but in Doubt, your character, very heroic in a different way than wearing the cape and stopping the world engine.
Exactly.
All different levels.
All different levels, exactly.
What's it like doing I know you from a lot of indie flicks and stuff like that. What's it like to step into the world of sit down, everything costs $1 million today? Like, you know, big movies that are big expenses. Although I watched the extras, I know Zack shot it very traditionally. Like, so it wasn't like overwhelming with a zillion cameras circling everybody. A lot of handheld work in it. So
we shot one camera pretty much the entire movie.
really, just one?
One camera, yeah.
I'm shooting a $3 million movie. I got 2 cameras rolling. You shot this with one.
We can
That's
only
the
afford
secret.
one camera.
With all
Wow.
the other stuff.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it really, at the end of the day, it's all the same.
Is
Because
it?
It is. It really is. I mean, I have to say, working with Zack on a film like this, he keeps you in the loop. So you know what's going on. You know what's around you. It's a very inclusive process. So, you know, and he's also working through the characters and giving them layers and textures. So I never felt lost in the special effects or lost in like the green screen arena we were in, you know?
How much was set? Like, how much is set when you're roaming around the ship and, you know, meeting Jor-El and stuff, the world's greatest dad? Is that built? How much of it is green screen? What are you acting against that's not real? 'Cause
The
that's
interior of the scout ship
That's
there was a lot of set there.
Yeah.
But, you know, any time that, like, you know, flying but even when, you know, Henry puts you down, that we had a lot of rubble, and that set was pretty
Yeah.
big too, you know, at the end where the kiss happened. That was a pretty
Right.
big set
Yeah.
too.
There's a lot of practical.
I just think it's
Stuff.
adorable that he goes where the kiss happened. Everyone goes, that's where Metropolis was destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
And in your heart, you're like, no, that's where the kiss happened.
Yeah.
Very, very, very sweet. I'm sure we got another video question we're just going to pop to right now, and we're going to throw it out to Henry, who's standing by in London. He's woken up, man, as we're up very early, a few hours later there. Henry, what is the poppy? Is it Remembrance Day or something? What's going on?
Yeah, it's Remembrance Day over here. And yeah, so wearing the poppy to remember all the fallen soldiers.
Right on. Okay, we got a video question for you, man. This is aimed right for you, Henry. Check it out.
Hi, Henry. Did you study or practice any particular martial arts or fighting styles in preparations for the fighting scenes?
Take it away, Henry, man. He wants to know about the fighting styles. It's one thing when Zack's like, look, get in shape like nobody's ever gotten in shape before. Look, fly. But then at the same time, he's like, look, learn judo. Did you have to learn fighting? What was up?
Well, funnily enough, for a previous movie, I'd learned sort of the base of quite a lot of martial arts just so I could, you know, fit the character. And for this one, all the stunt guys who were training me said, forget everything you know, because in reality, Superman would never have learned a martial art. He'd never have the ability to train with someone because he would do some serious damage just by, you know, touching someone. And so they said, just, you know, really bring it back and go become a brawler. Just really big, wide punches. And so there was no sort of specific, martial art that I had to learn. And that made it easier for me, in fact.
I gotta say, man, I'll say it. I'm sure everyone's on the internet. It's weird hearing Superman in a British accent, but I'm a big fan of Henry's going back to the Tudors, man. I was so happy when he got this role and they cast him and not Henry VIII, who was such a bastard. Okay, man, I believe right now we're gonna take a peek at some conversation, man, that Zack had with. Oh, it's a question. They're correcting me. Like I said, it's live. I'm already screwing up. We got a question for Zack, video question, then we got a package coming up. But first, Zack, another question for you.
Hey Zach, Steve Eunice here from SupermanHomepage.com. One of the things out of Man of Steel that still has some people confused and doesn't seem to have been explained that clearly was the Codex, the skull on Krypton. Can you explain where that came from, what it was, how the Codex became engraved or embedded in the skull? Just some background information about that would be great. Thanks.
I would say you owe that guy a response. He's got a Man of Steel poster hanging in his house, dude.
He works at the Man of Steel homepage. I would say, well, okay, so the Codex, my idea for the Codex was that that skull was sort of the first Kryptonian that I could identify in their evolution as what they would, I don't know if they wouldn't call him like Homo sapien, but whatever the Kryptonian version of Homo sapien is. So that they traced their lineage back and they had found this skull, and this was the first sort of physical incarnation of what a Kryptonian, ideal Kryptonian would be. So that's sort of the raw material for the DNA. The DNA, that you see the Codex being extracted from it. We always imagined that that was sort of the raw material, and then each individual, as the raw material came out, each individual sort of the little subtlety differences, and whether you were going to make a warrior or a scientist or whatever they were constructing in the Genesis chamber, those things were then changed as the stream came out of that skull. And then we were saying that the way it was engraved was because, it was a while, that skull had been fought over, and different factions of whether it be religious or scientific had warred over the skull, and many people had died, and so some culty monk group had like carved the different like Kryptonian sayings in the skull, and then finally when it was wrestled away by whatever factions created the Genesis chamber and the sort of the construction of Kryptonian society as it is we see it now, they were able to get it to the Genesis chamber and start to create it. And I would say that there was probably in the other Genesis chambers across Krypton, there might be a femur or a little chip, just like Saints. You don't get the whole skull, but in the capital there, you're going to have a pretty important piece of that skeleton, but maybe in other cities you get smaller ones. So I don't know. That's a general.
Yeah.
That is not general. This is the opposite of general. That was the most specific response. You could have just been like, it's the Codex, dude. Let's move on. But you actually put some thought into it. Is that what goes on in pre-production? It's like, look, we better be watertight. I mean, at a certain point, you got to suspend the window of disbelief because it's about a guy who flies, but you like to be watertight with your logic.
I'm really into that kind of stuff. I always feel like, it's cool if like our mythology is kind of bulletproof, that you have you can create a backstory for anything. Actors do it all the time. Create a backstory for this character or this thing. And I like to do it for everything as much as I can. And, of course, all that could be changed anytime because I could go, you know what? No, well, actually, it wasn't that. It was this. And then it's just, I make up another thing.
Right.
But I think, though, my point is only, though, that I feel like it just makes the world so much richer when you really believe that, like, just like when Zod and Jor-El are talking about like in the era of the warring states and whatever relationship they had and who knows what adventures they went on and how they fought and how a rift happened between them. Like that stuff you kind of...
The amazing thing is in the opening 20 minutes of the movie, you go to Krypton in a way we've never been to Krypton before in the movies. And it's 20 minutes. I watched it again. And at the 20-minute mark evenly in the run of the movie, boom, we're on the boat. But up to then, it's 20 minutes on Krypton, and you've never seen it before. And it's this amazing sci-fi flick. And that's when first time I was watching it, I was like, holy crap, I realized you guys weren't going for a superhero movie. You were going for a very earnest sci-fi.
It absolutely is. And it's because it's a sci-fi movie, it's an invasion film.
Yeah.
And then Superman's kind of like in there. And we really wanted to do that because I felt like at its core, Superman's an alien, comes from an alien world, and it's a thing that had kind of been touched on, but people don't, it's not the first thing that jumps out when you say, like, what do you think of Superman? You don't go, oh, he's an alien.
Right.
And everyone goes like, oh.
Only Lex Luthor is like
Kansas.
the alien.
Yeah, exactly. Lex loves to call him an alien.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, that's a spoiler, kid.
And I think that's cool.
To me, it's I don't know. I'm a big fan, but we got to jump to you because somebody's got a video question for you, and I want to hear more from you. I know, because we will geek out and just talk about. But one more thing before we go: the whole opening 20 minutes. What I dig about it looks like a '70s album cover, man, and even the music is trippy.
It has a lot of heavy metal influence.
Yeah, was it really?
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
I'm
man.
a huge fan, of heavy metal. And
See, kids, that's a fan event should know that. Really? So you watch the magazines and the movie itself, or just the magazines?
I'm a huge fan, and I grew up in a weird way. My comic book experience was that I started by accident. My mom got me heavy metal instead of comic books, right, when I was young. And that's
This is the worst magazine to get a child.
She didn't know. She thought it was for kids.
It's like
right?
drawings of dirty pictures in
Honestly.
space.
And I just was like reading this thing going like, this is the most awesome thing ever. And then when actually I got introduced to comic books, normal comic books, I was just like, when are they going to have sex with each other?
That's
And
awesome.
start killing.
That is tremendous. That's so funny. You're like, this is boring.
Yeah, you can see that my aesthetic is kind of shaped that way. But anyway, and so, but you know, it's super rich material. And then when the film came out, the original heavy metal movie, I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was dazzling. It all plays, man. That influence is well served because you brought Krypton to life in a way where I'm like, keep going. Now I just want to see Krypton prequels.
Yeah.
Plus, I would just watch
Tell
Russell Crowe
he
be
wants to do it
Jor-El
right
forever.
now. Yeah, he's like,
oh,
let's do it.
I wish Russell Crowe Jor-El was my dad. He was so good. You know what I'm saying? My dad was good. Let's look at a video question right now for Amy because this is becoming a real sausage party. Somebody wants to ask the lady a question. Here it goes.
Hi, Amy Adams. My name is Jenna. I'm 11 years old and I live in Southern California. And I would like to know, in the scene where you were kissing Henry Cavill, if that was magical or disgusting, because it was like perfect shot in the movie, but I want to know your point of view from that scene.
I'm so embarrassed. I'm wearing the same shirt as that little girl. What was
She's
it?
like the cutest thing ever.
Adorable, yeah.
How great is it, an 11-year-old girl wearing a Superman t-shirt?
Pretty awesome.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think that kissing Henry can ever be described as disgusting. I don't want to cross over a professional line, but certainly not disgusting. When you do kissing scenes, it really is one of those strange things because it's just so not intimate. But you have to convey a level of intimacy, and there's truly no intimacy. You're like going back and talking about that read, and we're doing the lines.
And the cameras
was
around, and
weird.
people going,
Yeah.
can you
Was my
move
lip
to the left,
weird?
just turn your head
Yeah.
like this? Yeah.
It's always so technical. So I always hate to ruin the illusion when answering those questions, but they're always just so. It's always so technical, and it's so weird because I've been working with Henry, and we've become friends, and now I have to kiss him, and it's like, all right.
That is the weird aspect where it's just like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I got this, I got this.
Well,
What you been in? Now
at
kiss.
least it wasn't the
Yeah.
first scene we were doing, because I've
True.
had that happen too, and that's even weirder, you know.
So you probably disillusioned that poor girl who's just like, I just wanted to hear it was awesome.
But Henry smells good. He smells really nice.
What was your favorite part? Never mind the kissing, man, because you're emoting like heck in this movie, and you have the very tough job of having to set up exposition without having it sound like exposition. Kids, exposition, if you don't know, is all the information that helps keep a movie going forward. And periodically, you have characters that are just like, this is happening for this. Very tricky to be able to pull that off and make it sound like you're thinking of it right in the moment and have it sound natural, and you pull that off in a big way. So what was your favorite? It's probably not the kissing scene. What was your favorite thing to do in the flick? Your favorite scene when you look at it and go, all right, man, that is why I spent 6 months of my life on that movie.
Honestly, my favorite scene is one where we don't talk at all. It's after not any spoilers, but he's kind of at his lowest point and he's had to make this really hard decision, and I come in and I comfort him, and you really feel a love and a friendship, and it's really pure.
It's the quiet stuff. Is it a cemetery scene, or is the other one where he's just landed and you guys are...
No, it's at the end where he's had to make a decision. I'm trying to
They've all
think of-
seen the movie,
Okay,
right? Listen
well,
to you.
train
Amy
station.
Adams is so
It's in the
adorable. She's
train
like,
station.
spoilers,
I know.
Man of Steel fans.
I know. Well, you know. I don't
Yes,
know.
yeah, you don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, I know. Silly me.
But
Okay, it's after he's had the conclusion with General Zod.
Right.
And he's upset, and he lets out that amazing scream, which I don't know how Henry did. It's just that soul-shattering scream, and Lois goes and comforts him.
And right then and there, you nail that moment, and you're like, I'm going to be back for the next one. I know it.
I was never thinking about
You
that.
dude, stop lying.
No, I wasn't.
Really?
No.
You only think
gosh.
about it in the moment and stuff?
Oh, yeah. You really think in that moment when I'm cradling this beautiful man's head and I'm comforting him that I'm like, sequel deal. Awesome.
Whenever I'm cradling a beautiful man's head, I'm always thinking sequel, lady.
That's awesome.
Can we show this little thing, this package we got, this video thing? Well, we're going to do, we got Man of Steel standing by. We got to go to Henry, who's probably falling asleep, listening to us talk to each other. Henry, are you still there? There he is. He's standing by. He's remembering like heck on Remembrance Day. We got another question for you. We wish you were here, man, but the delay is weird. But listen to this question, and we'll jump into your answer.
This is a question for Henry Cavill. I was just wondering, have you ever experienced what you experienced in the movie, how you've been in a situation where you've had to take a leap of faith and letting the trust part come later. Have you ever had that? Okay, thanks.
All right, Henry, the question is right to you, man. I'm not sure I understood it. He was talking in a funny accent. You might understand it.
Right. Well, I think the whole thing about taking a leap of faith is that is exactly what trust is. It's not about letting the trust part come later. Generally, I mean, we take leaps of faith in friendships, in relationships. As actors, we take leaps of faith with directors. We never know how it's going to turn out. Zack will tell us, you know, on the day, he'll show us some previs, and we'll do a scene, and then he'll say, right, and behind you, we're going to have all this stuff, which doesn't exist now, and we're going to cut in a certain way that it's all going to make sense. And that in itself is a leap of faith, and we just have to put our trust in our director or our friends or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, every day.
This is something I've been wondering, and I'm not going to aim it directly at Henry because he's not responsible for this, but you can listen along, Henry. Ever since I saw the trailer, and I've seen this movie twice in theaters, I watched it twice on an airplane going back and forth, uncut, and then I just watched it again at 3 in the morning recently, and had a great time. But here's what I got to know, and a lot of people on the internet want to know. When little Clark, at the end of the movie, spoilers in that Amy Adams parlance, spoilers at the end, when little Clark's running around with the cape on, who is he pretending to be?
I believe that moment is a moment that is sort of, it's inside of him to be, like, he's not pretending to be Superman, he's pretending to be Kryptonian.
Without even knowing who he is.
Without knowing, right? He's from another, it's like if you, it's like if he had been adopted from another land and somehow had an affinity toward the things that were natural to that culture. You know, I feel like that's what it is to me.
I love that beat, though. It's and of course the score, which we haven't even mentioned yet, is such a brilliant score, but really touching, particularly in that moment. The relationship between him and Pa Kent, I really love.
Because it's a Pa Kent moment, really, is what it's about.
That's
because
what it comes down to.
That's what we were trying to do. Is like I was like, it's a Jonathan moment. He's not. In the movie, Jonathan never gets to see him be Superman, but he already had, you know, so that was okay, you know.
It was, oh, you get me right there. I'm telling you. I'm not even lying. I mean, we're here, of course, to celebrate the Blu-ray release and whatnot, but I'm here more because I just love it, man. I get emotional watching the movie. Like you did, of course, you kick ass with the visuals and whatnot, but you found a way to make it an emotional experience too. And naturally, I'm a comic book fan, so I'm geared into it. But there was a lot of human. There was a lot of man in Man of Steel. And not when I say man, I mean, you know, man and whatever. I don't want to alienate women, but Man of Steel, there was a lot of humanity. Mankind and womankind. Anyway, boy, we're getting lost in gender politics. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a clip that we want to show you now. I've been trying to bring up time and time again, only because I know hidden somewhere in these clips you're going to watch, if you dig long, then people will study them and listen to them intently, you might hear something that has to do with a future picture. We've been talking to, of course, the hero and the heroine of Man of Steel and the guy that put it all together. But you can't have a superhero movie without a bad guy, man. So we're going to take this moment to kneel before Zod. Zack Snyder sat down with Michael Shannon at your office recently?
Yeah, it was super casual. We weren't awkwardly close to each other or anything like that. But you'll see in the clip, it's a really relaxed environment. And we were just looking at a computer. And that's what we do sometimes when we're together.
Chilling out. That's it, guys. The director and a star hang out.
Completely relaxed.
So check it out.
No
There's
lights
a little,
on us at all or anything.
Little package right here where you see Zack and Michael talking to each other. It's pretty interesting. And listen closely.
What was your biggest inspiration for the character as General Zod?
My biggest inspiration? Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because I think more than any other character I've ever played, I really had to rely on my imagination, you know? I mean, General Zod is not like me at all, and not like really anybody. He's not even from this planet.
No, he's a fantasy character, which is cool.
I thought a lot about, like, being a general and how much responsibility that was. And I started reading Ulysses S. Grant's memoirs.
Oh, that's cool. Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
No.
Because I can't imagine what that's like, waking up every day and having, I mean, you probably can, having that much responsibility.
No, nothing like that.
Because when you direct the movie, you're kind of like the general of the movie, right?
Yeah, but it's all fun and games. We're
Yeah.
just joking. It's not
Yeah.
like real people are going marching to their deaths or anything.
Right. I mean, as always, there's the question of how much do you try and incorporate something that Terrence Stamp did, or you go off in another direction. So I guess in a way, for me, an inspiration was Terrence's performance, but not wanting to emulate it, wanting to go in a different direction. So kind of a reverse inspiration.
Oh, that's cool. Sort of like, I can't do any of that.
Any of that.
It's like it takes an option away.
Yeah.
It's like a line reading.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. Now I have to do something entirely different. Which I think you did. I think it really, your Zod is definitely individual Zod. He's actually, in a weird way, just talking to some of the comic book writers and stuff, I think they're really, even now, inspired by him. It's interesting to have that effect, I think, on guys who are sitting down to actually write the future comics and sort of develop characters in different directions. It's funny how media influences those things, even when people don't have it in their head, to say, I'm gonna do Michael Shannon's Zod in this. So they don't know that, but it's there. It's in them now, you can't really escape it.
Right.
Hey, Michael, huge fan, loved Man of Steel. Do you think General Zod had just reasoning for all of his actions he took on planet Earth and Krypton? Thanks, man.
Sweet question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's all a matter of perspective, really. I always say Zod is only really a villain if you are an Earthling, but if you're a Kryptonian, he's not a villain.
He's like a savior.
He's trying to save your butt,
Exactly.
So
he's like a hero. He's the opposite. On Krypton, Superman would be like the weird turncoat traitor.
What's this guy doing? What's his problem? The one thing I do that I think is undeniably villainous is killing Jor-El. That was not like, this will help Krypton. It's like, I just want to kill this dude because he sent Cal into space. I mean, Zod does have a temper. It's not like he's...
I was like to think that was like a moment of passion that overtook him. I don't think it was he premeditated that. That just happened.
Right.
He saw his planet being taken from him and he reacted.
I mean, do I think it's cool for him to destroy an entire race of people in order to start another planet? Probably not. That's probably not the way to go about things. But he can't stop himself. It's in the genetic structure.
Yeah, he's genetically created to do that.
Yeah, it's a good excuse.
He was a fantastic choice. I loved him in Take Shelter. What was the Revolutionary? Is that the one that made you go for him?
That was really the one for me that said, I got to get this guy. If he was Zod, this movie would be awesome.
But the moment they announced him as Zod, I was like, man, that dude is tremendous. And you knew it was Terrence Stamp in Superman 2 was very kneel before Zod, and you know that he was going to bring it in. And what I liked about Zod this time around too was there was a purpose. It wasn't just like, we're mad, and they just are breaking crap. This dude, he was like, I'm genetically programmed to save my people, and this is all counter to that, and I'll kill whoever I have to. Really, really great addition, excellent casting. But in terms of casting, we got an excellent cast member right here. This, as I said before, was an excellent choice, bringing Miss Amy Adams into it. But one of the things I kind of dig about that is you dipped your toe into the Superman universe years before. Am I correct?
Oh yeah.
You were on Smallville?
Yes, sir.
One episode?
Yeah, I was the fat-sucking human vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird that you got to do that, and then years later, I'm sure when you're there, man, there's hey man, one day they'll have a Lois Lane on the show, and you're like, I wonder what that would be like to play Lois Lane.
I have wondered what it would be like to play Lois Lane many a time. So,
really?
Yeah, I auditioned for any incarnation of.
Anytime a Lois Lane comes up on the boards, you're just like, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Do you go back being a Superman fan when you were a kid?
Absolutely. We were talking about that moment with the little kid running around in the cape, and when Darren, my guy, and I were watching the trailer for the first time, both of us got weepy-eyed because we used to run around with capes on. He did, and I did, because I loved Superman so much when I was growing up, and it just spoke to that desire in each little kid to be so powerful, and it just really moved me, and it was just...
That's so awesome, man. It's of course, Superman, Man of Steel and whatnot, we all think of boys, but I met many girls, women, ladies over the course of my life love Superman. And also Superman transcends fandom, into the world of just pop culture in general, into the world of culture.
Yeah, well, he's a gentleman. He's a true gentleman. And
He's the son every mother wants,
Yeah.
and the son and the person every mother wants their daughter to date. He's just absolute perfection. All right, we're just gushing about the fictional character like dorks. Pretty Woman, and we're talking about a fictional character. But we're gonna go right now to another question from you, the audience, because this is the Man of Steel fan event, and so we're asking you for your questions, and you gave us a few at the hashtag #AskManOfSteel. So this one goes out to the entire cast, and of course Zack as well. Check this out.
What was your favorite experience overall while filming Man of Steel? And this is for everyone. And do you have a favorite scene? And if so, which one is it? And what did you walk away from your experience of your time working with Man of Steel and Superman in general? Thank you.
Ooh, that dude, he had the classic Superman poster hanging.
All that, you'll believe a man can fly.
Yeah, right. One of the greatest taglines in movie history. Yeah. Okay, start with you because you're right here in the room.
All right. What did I walk away with? You know, whenever I film something, and this one especially, it's so much about the people you're working with. And honestly, I walked away with a real. I just felt like I felt like I had an understanding of Superman in a different way than I had before, and I was just really proud to be a part of the project. I mean, Zack really, like I said, he was so inclusive, and
what's he like as a
director? He didn't have to hire
what
me
kind
as
of
Lois.
direction
He could have
does
gotten
he?
anybody to play Lois. So
He couldn't have gotten anybody. You were the perfect.
No,
choice.
but I mean, he could have. It's a great role, and I just was really grateful that he sort of stepped outside the, what could have been, and really, allowed me to be Lois. I just really was grateful for that.
Give us a little taste of Zack Snyder directing. Does he after takes? Does he come over and is he like?
That was awesome. Oh, okay, let's do it again.
He's supportive.
Yeah,
That's how you got to be. He's
like,
a coach.
He's like a coach, and he's the
that
best.
was horrible.
That's how you get great work out of people.
I didn't even know how to say that.
No, there's no negative, and trust me, there could have been at times, and even then he was just so like, try it again, and this time really sell it to me, and I'd be like, you're not seeing it at all, are you? And he's like, no, I'm not seeing it at all. No, yeah, that time makes me laugh. But so yeah, he's awesome, and working with Henry and just. It was awesome. One of my favorite work experiences.
Now, can you say something as nice and pleasant and wonderful as her about what was your takeaway, man? Hopefully, it was working with Amy Adams.
Well, of course, working with Amy Adams. I think it goes without saying. But no. I mean, look, honestly, because I had such an amazing cast, as a director, the better your cast is, the easier your job. It's just how it is, because you have all the stuff that when you were looking at it on the page, you're like, this doesn't work. This is madness. Who's going to say this and make it make sense? And then Amy says it, and you're like, oh, that's good. That worked.
It's realistic.
It's suddenly 100 times better than you could imagine. And then that's really the blessing of what they do. What actors, they pretend for a living, but they do more. They give us our myths back, and I think that's an amazing thing. And I think, and Henry as well, it's such an iconographic thing, it's like, you're going to play Superman. It's abstract, you're like, what does that mean? And then to make it natural and human, and that's just it's just a big deal. It's a like I said, these guys gave me the amazing gifts of their performances, and that makes the movie. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of visual effects and BS. But the real thing comes from the heart of the heart they bring.
Right.
That's just true.
Well, let's ask Henry what he thinks, man. Henry, you standing by. What was your takeaway from all this, other than like, I'm Superman, bitches? Like, that's amazing. But on top of everything else, what was the, well, I thought about this and thought about this.
Well, firstly, I just want to say, Amy, I agree with Kevin. You were the clear choice for Lois. Zack couldn't have just hired anyone. You absolutely nailed the role, and there's no one else but you who could have played that as well as you did. What did I take away from it? Just the whole experience. I'd never been on a job of that size. And I mean, I was in that job for 10 to 11 months. And when you're trying to put yourself in Superman's shoes, it's, at first of all, very daunting. And then you remove that that fear aspect from it, and you just try and live sort of within the skin of the character as he would live, without the sort of awareness of what Superman is to pop culture. And just that experience as a whole, I've working on a job for so long and working with such wonderful people, you know, it changed my life. And it's something that I will never forget, for sure, obviously.
I mean, this is off the boards, but I read a cute story, I think, somewhere about you having met your dad, Jor-El, Russell Crowe, prior to him being on set. You want to tell? I know you've told it to death on the press route. Tell it one more time for posterity.
Oh, no, this is my first time telling it.
Is it?
I was in boarding school, and he was filming, Russell was filming a movie called Proof of Life at my boarding school, and I was an extra in the background. He was kicking some rugby balls around, and we're all standing there in a big semicircle staring at him from afar, and I thought, so this all looks a bit odd. Why don't we treat him like a human being, go over and say hello? So sure enough, I went over, shook his hand, and said, I'm thinking of becoming an actor, and what's it like? And he said, you know, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. You just got to really want it. And I then, everyone sort of ran up and started asking for autographs immediately, so I waved to him over the crowd and said goodbye. And then a couple of days later, I got a signed autograph from him, a personalized message saying, "Dear Henry, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, Russell." And some Australian candy, some Vegemite, an Australian rugby jersey. And it was just fantastic to walk up to him. It must have been, I was 16, 17 at the time, so 10, 11 years later. And I was at the end of that first 1,000-mile journey, and he was there as he was at the beginning, and it was nice just to share that moment and say, hey, remember me? And amazingly enough, he did, and which is a remarkable feat. And yeah, we just had a good old chat about, you know, how these kind of crazy things can happen.
The amazing thing is you let him leave your life, man. If I had a father figure like that, I would just have him follow me all around going, punch that person, go left, do this. I love that sequence. I'm hoping like the Jor-El, the computer program went away in the movie. And when it happened, I was like, no, but you know, I'm hoping that perhaps somewhere in the future we might see something else. Speaking of future, man, Man of Steel happened. It's coming out on Blu-ray right now. That's what we're sitting around talking about right here at the Man of Steel fan event. Go pick up the Blu-ray this week. It is packed with stuff. Not kidding, man. The modern day film school is a very thick Blu-ray. Most cats learn so much about filmmaking just by watching behind the scenes of filmmakers like that. You watch when I say that, I mean Zach, of course, not this. When you watch the Blu-ray, you actually see, how things are done, demystifying the process, you know, because you watch a movie and you're like, I could never do something like that. Then they show you behind the scenes and you see these cats rolling around with one camera shooting this massive epic, and suddenly it demystifies a bit, gets other people going, maybe I can try this one day. So check that out. It's coming out this week, man. But for that, you sat down with Michael Shannon as well, right?
Did. In an equally unawkward moment, I think we're going to see another.
Zach, ever punching against the establishment, man? He's like, this is fake.
You know, it's fun. Michael is amazing. By the way, he's so
I will
funny.
say this. Let's break the fourth wall. Michael probably doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's like, let's chit-chat in front of the monitor and stuff like that.
No, probably not. But on the other hand, he has a super dry sense of humor.
Yeah.
And but he's super serious in the moment when you're filming and he's working. But it's his sense of humor and what I would say is joking around is in the exact same tone as when he is heart attack serious. So it can be off-putting to try and navigate it, but it's great because when you realize that he's goofing you, you're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
He's a sweetheart, man. Check him out. This is a sit-down that Zach did with Michael right here.
Hi, my name is Danielle. My question's for Zach. I want to know why you have the Man of Steel Superman killing General Zod, even though he's known for never killing and never harming anybody beyond what he needs to get them to stop.
Well, what's funny about that rule is it exists in the movies, but it doesn't really exist in the comic books. I mean, he's killed Zod a couple times in the comic books.
Yeah,
it's not like a...
Yeah.
Now, did you know the rules?
I didn't know the rules. No,
so you were just like, oh, that's fun. Of course he kills me.
No, I found it surprising. It was something that I didn't really, when we were making the movie, I didn't really clock it. I was like, well, of course he's got to kill me. You know, I'm out of control. But then afterwards, when the movie came out, and people walking up and be like, he killed you. He's not supposed to kill you. I'm like, well, he had to kill me. What was he supposed to do? So that's when I started to realize that there was just some sort of
it's in the ether.
Rule about that or something.
Yeah. I think that it's a notion that has grown out of the way he's been popularized on TV and in the movies more than the sort of comic book mythology of Superman, which is he's a much more practical hero. Killing General Zod is a practical solution to the problem. He wouldn't let his personal sort of aversion to killing cost him the lives of an entire planet.
Or even that little kid that.
Or those little kids, that little family.
Yeah.
So like if he had said like, well, I'm morally opposed to killing, so I guess I have to let him kill those people. Those are the dilemmas. And we set that up directly so that there would be no solution other than that solution.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like you could turn the question back around and say, why is this something that really people seem to take issue with? Because it's like, is it comforting, the idea that Superman wouldn't, I mean, it's not like something that doesn't exist in the real world.
No, and it's a real world problem. And by the way, I think the effect on Superman, it is deeply difficult decision for him to make. He's not a thing that he takes lightly, and you can see it affects him pretty profoundly.
Right.
And maybe we'll see the repercussions of that in the next film, like how that's affected him, making that decision.
Right.
Maybe.
Who would know?
I don't know.
Look at him, when he's got his like normal hair on, he's lovable, like lovable lurch. He's just tall as heck. But then he puts that George Clooney bowl cut on, and he's just a world destroyer.
He gets a Caesar on.
Really, and it helps to have a score behind him. Also makes him mean. The score in this movie, nice segue, Kev, was very, very cool, man. Of course, it was done by the great Hans Zimmer. You know, going in who you want, or you look at the shape of the movie and go, who's right?
No. I talked to Hans even before he rolled a frame of film, and Hans and I would sit and talk. And the thing that Hans does, it's cool, is you have this conversation about the movie, and a really in-depth conversation, and it's philosophical, and you talk about the most bizarro and cool, abstract ideas that you want to bring to the film, whether it be, I remember us talking about like, it's like, it's alien, but it's rock and roll, it's America, it's Bruce Springsteen, but it's like, it's just all those kinds of conversations you have. And and it's also humble. He's like, I want the score to be humble. Even though it's big and crazy, at moments it's got to be super humble because Superman's humble.
Isn't that a weird artistic conversation to have? Because you're not a musician.
No,
right?
not at all.
So you're talking to a musician about all the things you want, and you're giving buzzwords like, I want it to be normal, I want it to be hopeful, I want it to be this, I want it to be that. And that person has to then figure out how to pull each one of those beats off. And you're right, it is a big, glorious score, but there's so many quiet moments in it. No like marches. And there are a bunch of march moments, but there's so much quiet and soul to it.
It's literally magic, though, in a way, because then you sit down and he is this really crazy. Have you been to Hans's office?
Yeah, because we hang out all the time. No, dude, I don't hang out with professionals. Nobody likes me. But this dude, didn't he create new equipment for you?
He has a studio. His studio is like this. It's inside this like, I can't even describe it. It's like a sort of a brothel meets sort of what you would think that maybe like say Dracula would live.
And it's some kind of vampire sex brothel?
That's
where I imagine Dracula lives. Yes.
And with like a Phantom of the Opera sort of organ in the center of it with monitors and high-tech equipment kind of patched into it in some sort of cybernetic like steampunk freak out.
So he's not only doing the job, he's looking the part as well.
No, it's awesome.
He's art directed within an inch of his life.
It's incredible. Maybe I'm pulling back the curtain on something that no one should see.
Somewhere on Zimmer's like, you shut up, Snyder.
Yeah. But like you go and then he just like sits down and you sit on this like awesome sofa and there's like skull lamps and stuff and it happens there and it really is this magically awesome experience. I can't even describe that when you hear it for the first time. And normally what he does is he just plays it super simply on his piano. So that it plays and he'll go, it's something like, dun, 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 dun. And you're like, oh my Lord, like it is, and then with the giant score.
It's big shoes to fill because everybody knows the old Superman theme, and so that guy stepped up to the plate and gave us something new. Like when you first saw, I think it was the first full trail, and you first started hearing at the end the you're like, oh, that's the theme. That's the theme. You're gonna keep him around for future projects,
as
perhaps?
long as he'll have us.
I wonder what what a Batman theme would sound like from Hans Zimmer. I guess we'll never know.
Well, that's a big. I mean, that would be awesome if Hans does the movie. I mean, I think it'd be awesome because he has that challenge. You know, it's really,
that's something I thought about.
I think that's really.
We'll jump off real quick just for the fans. Hans Zimmer, of course, did the score for the Nolan Batman films, the Dark Knight saga. So for him to now, he's got a score. We all know the Batman score, but this is a new Batman Superman universe.
The table.
He can't play with those toys. How weird is that? He can't do any of that score. He's got to I got to reinvent Batman. So that's cool. You push everyone involved with you to go for just a little bit more, a little bit different, a little bit outside the box, rather than let's just execute what we've all seen before and play it safe. You're like, follow me. It's a little dangerous. We might take some hits, but we're going to go someplace new with this. Superman is a tough character to pull off because it's like writing for God. He can do anything, and he's invulnerable except for this one magic rock from space. And as long as you don't got that, you're pretty much, there's your story. He's always going to win. So it's tough for creators to find an angle into that character, and you guys found a way in by humanizing it.
Yeah, hit him in the heart.
It was more about the man than the super part, man. That was really, really cool. But before we go anyplace else, I got to ask this, man, because of course the internet is just like, when the movie came out, a lot of people were like, oh my Lord, the destruction. Metropolis, if you watch the fight scene throughout Metropolis, we definitely destroy a section of buildings, but the city is absolutely still there because you see them aerial fighting throughout and whatnot. But how many, in your head, imaginary, fictional characters, mind you, how many people did we lose in Metropolis that fateful day? Or was it a work holiday, this is your out, and everybody was out of town? I like to think of it as a banking town, like Charlotte or something. Nobody was working that day.
I mean, probably 5,000 people or something like that. I mean, I imagine, that's a horrible thing to say as a number. You don't like putting numbers on it, but it's like, you have to imagine that there's people in these buildings, and we did. And I gotta say that, for me, that was part of it, that we were like, no, there's real consequences.
Tell them, brother, this is important for all the people that are like, why?
Yeah,
this matters.
It's real consequences because we're used to seeing all these superhero movies and all this. And look, and not to say, not to compare, but if you look at Avengers, they trash New York City, and no one even mentions the fact that there's thousands of people dying in there, And I feel like for me, it is about. That's why there's. It's heavy at the end of the movie. There's a sadness to the end of the movie. It's not just fun to crash around in a city, that there's a human price. And I think that's the thing that weighs on Superman. And I think it's important. It's not a thing that people are like,
they're like, it's danger porn. He just likes to see buildings fall. But there's a reason. To me, when I watched it, I was like, well, it's an origin story, right? And this is threading the needle for what's to come, because people will say, Superman would never let those buildings fall. Yes, when he has all the experience in the world of being Superman, but this is his first time out, and these are the things he's learning.
Let's not forget, he's fighting basically his equal. He has no advantage, in this scenario, zero advantage. As a matter of fact, Zod's a warrior, has trained his entire life, can fight 100 times better than Superman. Technically, he's outgunned in that scenario, and he should lose. And whatever maybe his human side or whatever allows him this, because he can make choices,
right? And
Zod can't, he's able to win. So I think that...
Excellently. Well defended and well said, sir. We got another question right now. Who's this one for, Radio Room? This one's for Henry, who's standing by going, am I still on TV with these guys? Henry, we got a question for you. Alone in the Fortress of Solitude. Oh, it's a Twitter question. It's not a video question. Here we go. So listen up, Henry. In the film, Henry, the concept of bullying was quite prevalent. What did you hope to convey to the public regarding the choices associated with bullying and how to handle it? I think that is way too many letters for 140 characters. I don't know if this came from Twitter, but Henry, it's up to you. The bullying, man. What was that? What was your take on it?
Well, I feel like a lot of it, one major part of it is covered with young Clark, which is even if someone makes you feel diminished, don't let your ego take charge and therefore try and diminish them in return, because that turns into a vicious cycle. And when Clark grows up and you see him in the bar, we add a human aspect, and the very fact that he is fallible, and sometimes he doesn't always get it right by trashing that guy's truck. It wasn't necessarily the right thing to do, but it made him seem more human. And then on the flip side of it, there's a stage where you have to eventually stand up to a bully, and you have to stop a bully doing what they're doing. And in Zod's case, there's no peaceful answer to that, because he was programmed to do what he had to do. So yeah, there's the two aspects of one, take the high road, and then two, sometimes you have to stand up and stop the bullying from happening.
Well said. Even it sounds like Superman when he's speaking extemporaneously, just in the ideas he's talking about. We've got another question right here. I'm going to throw it out. This is from Twitter, man. It's from ViperPilot08. Is asking, at what age did you first see a Superman movie? It's a great question. I saw 77, nobody asked me, but I'll give you an answer. I saw it when it came out in theaters. Couldn't believe it, man. You know, I'm familiar with the old cartoons, of course, and the old black and white TV show as a child. But the poster, promise you will believe a man can fly, and it took you there. It was unbelievable, those flying sequences. Now you look at them, you're like, whew. Now, you know, now the flying sequences are even more amazing. But that was the first time I saw it in theater. What about you?
The first time I saw it wasn't in a theater, and it was actually Superman 2. It was a gymnastics sleepover.
Get out of here!
Yeah, and then
what a weird. So wait, was it boys and girls?
No, it was just
mixed company, and they were like, "Hey, kids, we're going to watch Superman."
Gymnastics sleepover. I know it's
you
so
guys
weird.
decided we want to watch a movie. Let's watch.
Yeah,
VHS.
they put Superman 2 on, and I was like, "What is this thing?" And I've been obsessed with like. I used to have my Barbie sleep in tinfoil because of those sheets.
From the old Krypton first flick.
Superman sheets, awesome.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so I loved it. But then I was introduced on VHS.
What a weird world and path that your life has taken, where you're seeing Superman 2 at a gymnastics sleepover, and it's not the same movie, but Zod, Lois, Superman, all the elements are there at play. Metropolis under attack, the world under attack.
7, I think.
And then years later, man, you're like, you are the person in that movie. Somewhere, young Amy Adams is at gymnastic camp watching this movie
Just waiting.
on Blu-ray.
I'm just waiting for the silver sheets.
Yes, have her own version. Okay, we got another Twitter question right here.
That sounds
Sewing them right now.
This one is specifically for Zach. It's Sam Gironda 11 says, what was the most challenging thing when it came to designing the suit? Well, you didn't design the suit, but you had a say in it.
No, and the suit, I was, very heavily involved with the design of the suit because I had a lot of ideas. We talk a lot about everyone. The big thing, of course, everyone says is like, oh, there's two things I always say. People say, well, why did you take the underwear from outside the pants?
That always made sense to me.
And,
I'm a fan. I was just like, I can see why.
And then I say, isn't it funny how some questions answer themselves? And then and of course I'll go on this like Victorian strongman diatribe about like, that the reason why he had his pants on the outside was because, they were based on Victorian strongmen who, during the Victorian era, you weren't allowed to see skin, so they put skin-colored leotards on to look like they were naked, and then they'd put underwear over it to really give the illusion of nudity. And then over time, they were like, oh, we should make those leotards blue or pink or whatever. And the underwear just stayed. So it's really a holdover from a bygone era.
Remnant,
a remnant from an ancient time. It's time, for me, it was like, okay, we got to move on from that. And by the way, I, more than anyone, I looked at so many iterations with the underwear on because I wanted to see, show me it can't work.
Right.
Show me it can't. And they'd be like, oh, what about her? And I'd say, okay, you're right. And I think the biggest challenge to me of the suit was getting it to feel, I was really into sort of, and Henry was able to do it, like the physicality of Superman, And I think that in the past, he hasn't really been, iconographically physical as well. Like in the comic books he is.
Mm-hmm. In the movies, and on TV, he's generally a thin guy.
Yeah.
He's not like, he doesn't have the muscles.
And I just felt like it'd be really cool to be able to see that, and have it feel like the suit was almost just like an extension of his body. And that really was, the biggest challenge for me was to make that.
I think you did the smartest thing in the world, though, with the cape. Like, talk about the cape, man. Like, the cape is not real, right?
The cape is very often not real in the movie. And DJ and I are always like, the cape, we always say, oh, there's going to be some cape acting here. That's what I'd say. Because, sometimes when he's standing there, that's real, right?
Yes.
And then every now and then it's real. But most of the time when he's standing there and the wind's blowing or whatever it's moving, I'd be like, the cape needs to act in this scene too, so it's gonna blow or move and do stuff.
So do you sit down with like an effects crew and be like, you guys got to build a it's tough to build something that looks that convincing. He walks out when he's first garbed up, and that if you like capes, it's like cape pornography because it's so beautiful. Been reading comics my whole life. I was like, there it is, the cape I've always seen on the page, not just dangling off some dude looking like a Halloween costume. It's alive, it's flowing.
It's really a big challenge because there's a shot where he's walking right when he comes out of the fortress for the first time, and he's walking to go fly. There's this kind of super short focusy shot that I had drawn, and it was like this kind of flapping front edge of the cape and out of focus guy walking, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to see.
Right.
And I remember DJ going like the first output of the shot, and it was awesome. It was exactly what I had imagined, because you get worried like, oh, the fabric sims are really difficult, but they cracked it. It's
pitch perfect.
I saw it.
And it sets it apart. And also, like as you said earlier, like we're at an age now where you can visually represent on screen an image from the page which looks dynamite, but it's flat, two-dimensional, and the real world would never work. But now you can do, even in something as simple as the cape, not to mention the aerial fighting sequences, not to mention like everything we've seen, the space stuff, just knockout stuff. We got another video question for you, man. Is it video or Twitter, folks? Video. All right, so watch this, Zach. This is directed at you. Another video question from you. Ask Man of Steel.
Hi, we're the Jones family from Naperville, Illinois, and we have a question. Will you be returning to Plano, Illinois to film some additional Smallville scenes? We are actually super fans, as you can see.
Amazing.
I love when your creativity or something you create brings out the creativity in others. Like, obviously, just a big fan of Superman in general. Cool. They get themselves some After Effects. They make a movie that looks better than my first, if not my last movie. Fun stuff, man, from those cats. But their question was, are you going to come back to, was it Plano, Illinois, to do the Smallville?
That's where we shot Smallville. I can't say, can I?
Dude, you gotta say. I'm gonna beat some details out of you soon. Say it.
But
I'm going to too.
Yeah, I want to know. She wants to know too.
I think that we know that in our. I can't say.
Oh, so close. Everybody just leaned toward their terminals. The whole internet felt that lean.
I considered saying something, then I was like, what am I? I'll get in trouble.
You ain't get in trouble. You're the man.
Debbie will kill me.
Oh, that's right, man. That, and let's give credit. Like, as a married man and as somebody who works in production, I know how absolutely essential it is to have somebody by your side that you trust and who believe in, and they're talented. You're lucky enough you got somebody who you're married to who also you work with, man. Like, and it's rare. I mean, it's weird to say, but in this business, female producers, the pool is very shallow. So it's awesome that Deb is there with you, man.
Yeah, she's amazing, and it's an amazing relationship that we have as far as work goes, because it's good and bad, of course, because you never.
You're with each other 24/7.
Yeah, and every time we're in the car, I'm like, what about, would it be interesting if, and she'll say, I'm not really sure, and whatever, it's also really nice to have that as well, because you have sort of the future of your career and everything. You can like talk about it in real terms, and she's always there to tell me whether I'm full of shit or whether it's cool.
And you get not just like the honesty that you won't get from most other people who are just be like, anything you want, man. She'll be straight up with you.
No, and you feel safe too. I mean, look, all of my producers on the movie were amazing. Chuck Roven, by the way, also who we work with, who's a legend,
another
awesome
legend,
and genius, and really seen. You can't tell him something he hasn't seen.
Right.
And by the way, and Chris and Emma, who
that's right, yeah,
who are also a couple.
I think he's done a few pictures.
He's done a couple
as well.
Movies.
He's had.
It was actually really fun, for Debbie and I to go out to dinner with Chris and Emma and just be like, hey, and talk about the movies. And
did they really make you read the script while he was sitting in the?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Tell him that real quick.
Well, it was when I first read the script for the movie. A car pulls up, and one of the guys that they work with, Chris and Emma work with, they delivered the script to us, and he just waits while you read it because you got to give it back.
How weird is that? Do you offer him a drink?
And
You're like, you want a Yoo-hoo, dude?
No, totally.
You want to
And he
rake
was
my
like, no,
lawn
I'm
while
good.
you're waiting?
I'm good. I'm going to sit in the car. And he just sat in the car. But the cool thing is, like, we read the scripts out loud.
If I'm your neighbor, I'm calling the cops being like, there's a creepy director lurking on that other director's lawn.
No, it wasn't Chris. It was one of his guys. If it was Chris, it would have been awesome.
That would have been amazing.
No,
like,
that
I
would've
got
been
Chris
awesome.
Nolan waiting in my
Yeah,
driveway.
that would have been awesome. No, but and we read the script out loud the first time. So it's
You and Deb?
Yeah, and Deb and Wes, who we work with too.
Did you act it? Did you perform it?
We don't perform it per se, but we do read out loud because it's just good to hear it the first time because if you're trying to rush through the first read, you don't. It's weird, a lot of times you miss bits and stuff, but when you hear it and you hear people sort of voicing different roles right away, it's interesting.
So you, Deb, Henry, Amy, all going back into battle soon. Chuck, all going back into battle soon. There's a Man of Steel sequel in the works, and of course, everybody on the internet and everybody who loves movies. Me, you're bringing a childhood dream to life. I've been, a big comic book fan my whole life. I've always wanted to see Batman and Superman together in a movie. Seen it in cartoons, seen it in comics, never seen it on a big screen. Never thought I'd see it in my lifetime. Now I know I'm going to see it thanks to you. So with that coming, man, we worked on this kind of special project for this organization called We Can Be Heroes. Do you want to explain what this is? Set up the paintings.
Well, we wanted to figure out a way to say, like, okay, what do fans want to see? What do people want to see? And we know that there is an appetite for images that include Superman and Batman. There's another character called Batman.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Some note somewhere.
Yeah.
He's going to be a B character.
He's an obscure comic book character that we're going to bring into the next movie. People seem to like it when you put.
There was a nice reaction to it. People are generally supportive of the idea.
They seem to like this Batman character. Anyway.
Dude, it was a sucker punch, and pun intended, it was a sucker punch. We didn't see it coming. I'm a fan. And I figured, okay, Man of Steel 2 is going to be all about Lex Luthor, and I'm great with that. We've now met Superman, so 2 is going to concentrate on, I hate this alien. Look what he did to the city. And then at Comic-Con, all of a sudden, guess what, kids? And they put that bat behind the S, and I just fell apart, man. Spontaneously, it all came out of every pore. Like, it was excitement. You can watch the clip online. You can't hear the room. It goes nuts. Everybody's waiting, and you're the guy with the keys, man. You go on the internet, just type in Batman, boom, there's thousands of speculations about, like, I hear Nightwing's in it, I hear Wonder Woman's in it.
No,
You're the guy that knows all the info. These paintings came from you.
Well, the paintings, and really what we did is we went to the artists and we said, like, listen, guys, just, like, take that reaction of Batman versus Superman and just, I don't want to tell you what to paint. I'm like, I wouldn't do that, but just what do you feel, And that's what we got. And I have a buddy named Alex Pardee, and he worked with me. Like I told you how my favorite painting that
Look at that. This is it right now, man.
That's not the Alex painting, but another
This is
amazing.
Dave Correa?
That's Dave's, yeah. No, that's not Dave's.
That was Jonathan Wayshack?
That's John's, yeah.
This is what, and that's detail on it?
That's John's, yeah. Look at that. It's awesome.
Oh, that's, and we'll tell cats and we'll give more detail, but these pieces are going to be auctioned for We Can Be Heroes. DC Entertainment's giving campaign that benefits the fight against hunger in the Horn of Africa. Right. This one is which one?
That's Dave's, yeah.
This is Dave Correa right here.
Super awesome.
So go back. Oh, look at the detail.
Intense. It's crazy.
So now you said, hey man, this is what I'm thinking about Superman. They went nuts.
Yeah, and then Alex did. This is Alex's, and Alex had done. Yeah, super.
I like Pardee's style. It's really good.
Yeah, it's super cool. He did a Watchmen painting the first time. And he just gave it to me, and I have it. It's over my mantle in my office. This is amazing painting of Dr. Manhattan. It's awesome.
These,
this is a great.
This is really cool. You could bid on these, on the pieces that you just saw, man. These are essentially kind of the first pieces of Batman versus Superman, Superman versus Batman, Man of Steel 2. There is no official title yet, so I'm just guessing, speculating here.
And by the way, that's the logo of that's the logo of the charity.
That's their logo.
Yeah,
because a bunch of people online, are like, oh my God, Flash is in it and Aquaman's in it. You just killed like 20% of the internet as their hearts exploded.
I'm just trying to clarify.
Go to ebay.com/WeCanBeHeroes and you can bid on those pieces that we've seen. Lots of cats, of course. We keep saying, you even said it earlier, Superman v. Batman. There's a V in there. So naturally, people are, based on the announcement, the passage that you guys read from Dark Knight Returns, this isn't a friendly relationship. Like, my mom even knows about this movie. She's like, I hear Batman and Superman are going to be in a movie, and they're not friends. I was like, oh, well, we'll see, Mom. It's a very complicated relationship.
Not out on that completely. No, and I think that that's sort of the fun of the idea is to be able to sort of play with that relationship and whether they're fighting or they become friends or they're friends and they fight. That's the fun of kind of making movies and playing with this kind of mythology, that you get to sort of take these icons and sort of see how emotionally they fit together. I think that's the most important thing and the fun thing. And of course, there will be some physical conflicts as well.
Oh, look at that. He did it all without spoilers. Classy. And you hired an actor I've seen in some movies who I thought was pretty good, some Affleck dude. But this is weird. The moment you announced him, I was like, all right, Ben Affleck's playing Batman in Man of Steel 2. Man of Steel's mom, played by Diane Lane. Diane Lane makes out with Ben Affleck in Hollywoodland. Ew, Martha Kent and Bruce Wayne made out. Like, that's what went through my head. That's a cinematic trail.
It's a pretty cool.
A lot of people on the internet said, I thought the same thing, Fat Man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Would that mean that Superman was like, all right, that's not cool, bro?
Totally. And that's the plot right there. We just figured out the plot of Man of Steel 2.
You made out with my mom.
This is, I want to thank all these cats for taking off their Saturday, man, to hang out with us. Thanks, Zach. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Henry, who's still sitting there listening. We're going to jump to it.
Yay,
Henry, thanks for making the time, sir, on Remembrance Day, no less. You did an excellent job. We love you, Superman.
Love you guys, too. Thank you.
Did you hear that? Superman said he loved me. Technically with all of us, but I'm taking a little bit for myself. You were fantastic. I still maintain this is my favorite movie moment. Just that moment, favorite acting performance. That bit, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, however long it is, you did it all with a look, aside from all the delivering of the lines. That's tough, tricky acting. You did fantastic.
Thank you.
We love Shannon. Michael did great, but Zach, we don't have this without you. You are in charge of the hopes and dreams of so many of us for the next movie. You will not let it down. I mean, you crush this, you'll crush the next one. Congratulations, dude. Love following your career. You're a true artist. I take my hat off.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for hanging out, folks. Man of Steel fan event. Man of Steel comes out on Blu-ray this week. It is packed. Watch the movie a couple times. I just did 3 in the morning, blazed. It was amazing. Watch the extras package. Learn how to make movies. See how all this magic is done, man. Never forget to support comic book movies because we want them to keep coming, particularly when they're coming as good as this. We'll see you all at the cinema for Man of Steel 2, Batman vs. Superman, Superman v. Batman, whatever it's going to be called. We'll be there with our capes on, man. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Henry. Thanks, everybody else. Bye.